Hey guys, brand new podcast. This week's show in San Marcos, we have canceled the late show Saturday and we've moved it to Sunday. I'm not certain if I can make that announcement, but I want you, my fans that are listening, to know that due to curfew reasons, due to COVID, we have moved that late show Saturday to Sunday. We're now doing 3 nights, Thursday or Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So check your email, go to Facebook, go to Bands in Town, whatever you do to find out info. Go to my website, Bert.com. I just want to give you a heads up. That is the last date for the Hot Summer Nights tour. It is over. It is fucking over. It is over, and I came up with the best goddamn bit. I talk about it a little bit on this podcast, but yeah, man, I want another glass of wine so badly. I've been drinking wine. I didn't feel so hot today. I drank way too much coffee. Way too much coffee. I did fucking so much time in front of the computer. I have some really great podcasts coming out. The one today is amazing. Let me rephrase that. Jesus Christ, Bert. Pat yourself on the back, why don't you? The one today you're going to love. I hope you're going to love. This is with, they say Aunty Donna. Aunty Donna is how you'd say it. I'd say it. I find myself saying Australian words the way they say them. I say it, you'll hear it at the very beginning of this. They're from Melbourne. That's how they say Melbourne. And you got to respect that. But I never wanted to be you'll hear me talk all about this. I don't know. What am I doing? I'm getting into this too much. They're a sketch comedy group, 3-person group. And there's been more that's been in the group. But they've got a new series on Netflix, Aunty Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun. I love sketch shows like this. We talk about this a little bit in the podcast. Do we have a read up front? Who is it?
It's Kamikoto.
Oh my God. This podcast is brought to you by Kamikoto Knives. Kamikoto's got a new knife I just saw on Instagram. I'm sure I'm not allowed to talk about it yet. That is so fucking badass. I just hit up all my reps. I was like, get me that. If you don't know what Kamikoto knives are, they make great kitchen knives using traditional techniques. These are ultra sharp steak knives, heavy duty cleavers, three set knife set, and they're great for fish. I use the big ones for fish, and the steak knives literally cut like butter. They are our steak knives. I think they come in a pack of 4, maybe 6. I bought another pack because I was like, by the way, I bought so many packs because what's great about these is these are seals sourced from Japan. So each blade is handcrafted using techniques that have been honed and perfected by generations of knife smiths. And they are sharp as shit. I'm talking cut through a ribeye like butter. And they come in these heavy duty like ashwood box. You know what else they got? I think I got one right here. It comes with a whetstone, so you can sharpen them with a whetstone. We are giving these as gifts to all our friends this Christmas. It is such a great gift, and they are badass, dude. These are like 12-inch long knives. They look amazing. They feel amazing. These are knives used by several chefs working at Michelin star restaurants. They make a great gift especially because of the box, and you can maintain the sharp edge with your whetstone. They're so confident about their knives that each knife comes with a lifetime guarantee. Here is my call to action. If you go ahead and buy right now, Kamikoto is offering our listeners an extra $50 off site-wide on top of their biggest sale of the year. All you got to do is go to kamikoto.com and use the promo code BERT for an extra $50 off. That's kamikoto.com/BERT. That is kamikoto.com/BERT. All right, we have a few more reads in here. I am drunk. They will be off the hip, but thank you to all my sponsors. Thank you to all my sponsors. Did you see the Dave Chappelle thing today, Alston?
I did. Amazing. They took it down.
What?
They took it off Netflix, right?
I thought they took his Instagram post down.
Oh, no.
No, Netflix took, man, Netflix is a bunch of fucking gangsters. That's why I love, no one at Netflix set this up, this interview with the Aunty Donna guys. They just, it's organic. Netflix is a badass fucking place to work. I am very grateful to have a show on Netflix and to have 3 specials on Netflix. That's so cool that they did that to Dave. If you don't know, you should check out Dave Chappelle's Instagram. He does have an Instagram. It had 1.2 million followers today. I'm sure it's got 5 million now. What's fascinating about Dave Chappelle as an artist is he is still, he's not doing traditional stand-up the way you would, I do it, I guess, or maybe even Bill Burr does it or Tom Segura does it. He's doing it differently, but he's still using the mechanics of it. And that's what, and you know, in doing that, it's really kind of opening my eyes to things being differently. Look, I'm never going to be able to sit on stage and kind of talk like the way he does with a cigarette in hand. I would love to be able to do that. I would love to be able to do that. I would be long-winded and boring as fuck. I'm doing it right now. But my point is, it's beautiful that he uses the mechanics. I did not know where that story was going until the end, 17 minutes. And it was fucking fascinating. It was, and by the way, I've been thinking about that story the whole day. That whole day, I've been thinking of that story. It really makes you think. It really makes you grateful for podcasts. It makes you, I'm very grateful for you guys listening. I'm very grateful that you shared it. We talk about this on the podcast. I'm going to take a shot, man. Like I'm that emotional about this. Broden shares it. So it's Broden, Zach, and Mark are the three guys on Aunty Donna. Broden shares this, and I just want to give me a second. Let me get a shot. Oh, little Buffalo Trace. How's that sound, right? I don't know what's in this glass. So Broden says this to me in this podcast. Just pour that on the ground. It's water. What the fuck can that hurt? By the way, I kind of lost my thought now. What's beautiful about what Chappelle did, and Broden brings this up to me. I think it is Broden that says it, right? Is that you listening to this right now built this podcast. I did it, and I shared it. I put everything into it, and those first fucking few years, they were horrible. But I shared it with you, and I shared it hoping you'd like it. And a lot of people didn't. A lot of people were very frustrated at my interviewing skills. And I think I've gotten much better. I think I've gotten a lot better. I'm not the best interviewer, by the way, and I'm not good with everyone. Like I can do a certain type of person. I can do artists. I can't really do I have nothing to talk to a politician or a scientist about. Maybe I don't know. Well, maybe we'll try those, but I can talk to an artist because as an artist, I'm curious about the growth of an artist. But what is beautiful is that you guys found this and you liked it. And you're going to hear this in the podcast. And then that became a part of you. It was something you liked. And then you shared it with the people you trusted. And some people shit on it. And they're like, ugh, that guy fucking sucks. Oh, is that the guy that takes his shirt off and just drinks all the time? Yeah, it fucking is. Okay? It is. But you shared it. And in sharing it, you helped me grow this podcast and my ability to make money. I remember when I was at 25,000 downloads and you guys, not me, I didn't do anything. You guys got me to 50,000 downloads because you told people. Maybe I worked harder, but you told people. And then you helped me get to, by the way, I'm giving exact numbers. I probably shouldn't, but then I got to 100,000 downloads and then it kept growing. And it was because you shared it. And in you sharing it, you laid yourself vulnerable to a friend or maybe a coworker and said, this is a part of me. This is not my idea. They talk about this in the show and you'll hear it weigh on me. And it weighs on me heavy because I feel very, very blessed to have created something that is profitable for me and my family during a pandemic that you guys grew for me. You helped grow this for me. And the position that Dave is in right now is that he made something really fucking cool, but people said, you don't get to own that. I'll talk about this in a future podcast with the lead singer of Slipknot, Corey Taylor, but the fact that I have this platform, this podcast, and I get to talk to you guys every week. and share thoughts like this and arrive on thoughts like this. Once again, this is not my thought. This is their thought about art and how comedy shared with friends and how you put yourself out. And I talk about Isla in this, and I haven't shared this with Isla. I'm not sure Isla would be cool with it, but Isla shared. It's a story you'll hear in there. But Isla got slammed for something she liked, and it really shut her down for a year. And we lost Isla for a year and a half, roughly. We lost her. We couldn't get her out of it. It wasn't old Isla, and she's back. But I think that's what's amazing about Chappelle's statement today was you've allowed people like Joe Rogan and Tom Segura and Joey Diaz and Ari Shaffir and Brendan Walsh and Bill Burr and Jay Larson and Ryan Sickler and myself and Steve Byrne and Steve Renazizi and Chris DiStefano and Andrew Schultz and Tim Dillon, and you've allowed us to create. Look, we're no Chappelle show, but you allowed us to create our thing, and then you shared it. It's such a great meeting of the two thoughts that are killing me today is the Chappelle statement and then this podcast, which we did yesterday. My point is, check out Aunty Donna on Netflix. Aunty Donna's Big Old House of Fun on Netflix. If you like it, share it with someone. Hey, listen, if it's not for you, that's not for you. I get it. Listen, I shared it with Leanne and she didn't get it. It's not, it is, I think Zach says this perfectly. We wanted to make something a tad bit divisive. Divisive, is that the right word? Divisive, because we didn't want it to be accessible for everyone, because then it's the Blues Clues, right? They wanted to make something weird and quirky and fun. And this taps into what got me into comedy. And I talk about this also on the podcast, which is The State. I've talked about The State a lot. You've heard me do a podcast with David Wayne. I should do one with Michael Ian Black, but I was obsessed with that because it allowed me the opportunity to think different. I was very strict on what funny was. For me, at the time, in college, funny was a lot of punching down. It wasn't a lot of open-mindedness. It wasn't like goofiness. So I didn't have friends that allowed you to be goofy. I didn't have friends that allowed you to be different. By the way, I'm not shitting on my friends if you're listening to this, but you couldn't dress differently. You had to dress like everyone else. And you couldn't behave differently. You had to behave kind of in the norm with what the guys in the fraternity felt was in the norm. And if you were too far off to the west, then you were far east to them, in their opinion. When I saw The State, it was the first time I'd seen alternative thinking. Alternative comedy is what they did. Alternative sketch. And that is what these guys do, and they do it brilliantly. They do it really brilliantly. And I think you should light up a joint, sit by yourself, and enjoy this sketch show. It's so good. It's so good, and it's so different, and it's so weird, and it's fun. It's fucking fun, and they're good guys. You're going to love this podcast. You're going to love this podcast. I love these guys. They, you'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, am I buzzed, Halston? Did I just go into a drunk tirade, Halston?
It's okay. We haven't had one in a while.
I have not. I mean, I have not really tied one on in a bit. And tonight I'm tying one on. I did not feel good, man. I fucking drank too much coffee, and I thought I was getting coronavirus because I was getting chills, and it turned out I just had bad salsa. And so I tied one on tonight. And I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. I really do. And like I said, Chappelle show's off Netflix. So if you're looking for a sketch comedy show on Netflix, check out Aunty Donna's Big Old House of Fun with Zach, Mark, and Broden. Today's podcast, Zach, Mark, and Broden from Aunty Donna's Big Old House of Fun. Streaming right now on Netflix. All right, start the show.
It's a choice. We're all really horny.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like I should join, but then
Do it.
Get in.
Do it, and then I'll let Bert
You don't have
do
to,
it,
but-
and then I'll let Bert in, and it'll be a surprise. He's gonna laugh.
Yes. That's great. What's funny, Bert? What's funny?
What's funny, man?
What's funny, Bert?
What was funny?
What are you laughing at? I don't get it.
Oh, that might be the best way to start a podcast ever. That's fucking awesome. That is fucking awesome.
It's not that cold here, so it's okay.
No, it's quite warm.
Oh, that's right. It's summer for you guys.
Just about, yeah.
Just nearly, very
man.
nearly.
Holy shit. Are you guys all in Melbourne?
We are.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Like
beautiful Melbourne. We've got, as of today, breaking here, 0 COVID cases.
No.
We hit the 0 all across the board, Broden.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Are you
incredible.
serious?
And thank you for saying Melbourne the way you said it. Usually Americans are Melbourne. But
Yeah,
I appreciated the bin there. I appreciated the bin.
It goes against everything in my fiber of a human being because I can't stand people like that go to Ibiza and say Ibiza. But for some reason, when you're down, and then there's a comedian named Eddie F, who's a good friend of mine, who used to come down and do shows.
Yeah,
and he was very popular in Australia and loved it. I mean, literally, it was probably him and Arj Barker were the two guys that were like preaching Australia to any of us before we even thought.
What did they used to say? I want to know this because like Arj is like an icon here, as is Eddie. Yeah. But like, was he just like, you got to go down there? They love Americans. You can make it.
They'll give you a career.
No, they would sell it on almost like a great experience of doing comedy. Like, you got to go down there. The crowds are awesome. They get our sense of humor. It's like, because every American was terrified to go abroad. Everyone. I mean, let me rephrase that. A lot of New York comics that I know didn't want to go abroad, and if they went abroad, their energy was shit. They just shit all over the place that they were at. And I remember Arj was the first one that I remember being like really popping. And then Eddie loved it down there. And I didn't go until maybe like 3-4 years ago. And I'm broken. It's my favorite place in the world. My daughter Georgia moved to Sydney. I mean,
really?
Australia is so amazing. So, I mean, I don't have to tell you that, but
it's oh,
there we go.
It's that thing of like I feel similarly when we go to it's New Zealand to America to like Australia for us. When we go to New Zealand, the air is cleaner, the food is more delicious, but things are just a little bit slower. And then when we go to America, so many things are happening, so many cool shows. The most fucked food in the world that you eat every day, and we just lose our fucking minds. But then, it's just that, but when New Zealanders come to Australia, there's also this idea of there's more going on. You lose things, but you gain things when population size.
Yeah. Sometimes Australia can feel like a country town when you go to America. Like the whole, even living in Melbourne, just feels so small and nothing. You walk down any street in New York at any time of the day, and it's just always loaded with people. And it's just not like that in Melbourne. It's a real shock sometimes.
New Zealand blew me away. New Zealand was a place I went where I was like, this is. I remember I kept saying the term otherworldly. Like it didn't seem like it belonged on this planet.
And Jurassic Park, isn't it?
Yeah, and we I did it. I used to work for a network called the Travel Channel, where I traveled for like 9 years just around the world. And
oh my god,
it's the best job. I'm sure it isn't. Cool. I'm sure it isn't. But it sounds like the best job.
It's a lot like being a stripper. Like it's amazing life experiences. You're having a blast. You're making a lot of money, but there's no future in it. Like you can't be a Travel Channel host. Bourdain worked for Travel Channel.
Yeah, you're just your travel showing your way through college.
Yeah, pretty much. I'll tell you right now. Yeah, that's a good one. I was binging you guys last night. Watched 4 episodes, and I didn't even realize I did this. I was drinking. I didn't even realize I did this. I made a fucking Vegemite sandwich.
How'd
How
you
you
do that?
getting Vegemite?
Oh, bro, I got my ways. I order that shit online all the time. I love Vegemite. I love Vegemite. And so I'm watching it. I didn't even realize I did it. These 2 pieces of toast in there, little butter, slapped on Vegemite. And I walked out. My wife goes, "Are you eating a fucking Vegemite sandwich?" I go, yeah, I just feel like, and then I'm like, "Oh my God, I've been watching Aunty Donna all this entire night." And then I've
That's
been
great.
binge watched all your YouTube stuff too.
Oh, that's
Oh,
awesome.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats
Yeah,
on
man. Thank
By the
you.
way, I have to say this, congrats on the new show on Netflix. It is fucking hilarious. It really is.
Thanks, man.
I have so many questions about how you come up, because it really is a stream of consciousness series. You guys did. I watched so much of your shit, so it's all on top of me. But there was a song you had of some sort where you mentioned a little girl's name, and the attention to detail of the little girl's name in that song. It was like Genevieve was her name, and it just wasn't. It just wasn't Brenda. It was Genevieve. It was just it was, and it made me laugh because, you know, when as a comic, you're trying to think on top of things, and it's the things that catch you sideways that make you laugh the hardest. And it's like those little hints that I feel like are the Easter eggs within your show are my favorite part of your show. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think we are always, you know, like what we will often do when we're writing or getting to that final phase of writing, like we always make sure the last thing we do is a joke run over our own work, and we look at almost every single element of something and we go, can this be funnier, or is this at its funniest? Which is of course subjective, but I guess we're just, you know, talking about to us. And there are things like that, there are moments like that where we will have a character's name and it will have been a character's name for, you know, all the way through the process. And then we'll get to that very last stage and we'll go, oh, and someone will realize, oh, we haven't maybe milked this moment for comedy. And it's not necessarily a joke and it's not necessarily, you know, a laugh point that we're putting in. We're just putting in a little bit of creative thought to kind of every single element of what we do and every single line. It's a really arduous process sometimes, but it's so great to hear that, because I think that's like the first time anyone's ever truly appreciated that level of shit that we put into our work. Thank you, Bert.
It's what made it, and I liked that it wasn't always. I mean, dude, I've been saying, so fly for a Wi-Fi.
Pretty fly for a Wi-Fi. Pretty fly for a Wi-Fi.
I've been saying that over and over in my head, going, "What am I going? I got to change my name, my Wi-Fi name, to something."
It's one of those things where it's like we're often very guilty of, and I don't know if you are too, but just like with names and shit like that, often we'll just do a real thing to us that is completely niche and no one will understand. We all went to the same college together like 10 years ago. And we'll often just name characters after people we went to university with because we find it
that's
funny.
my favorite thing in the world. My favorite thing in the world is for some reason, the joke loses its interest to me when I have to use not everyone's real name.
100%.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. And these guys, so there's a couple of members of Aunty Donna that went to the same high school. Broden, our musician Tom, and our filmmaker Max went to the same high school. So when they used the real name of a girl they hooked up with at some party when they were 15, I've never met this girl, but if you say her full name, I cannot think of anything funnier. The full name that has this like lived connection that I've never, like, you know, everything in that moment. I think that's the funniest thing you can do.
You guys do songs really well, but I got to tell you, I really appreciate. I think it was episode maybe 3 where you didn't open the show with a song. You opened, and I liked it. Yeah. I was predicting where we were going, and all of a sudden that fucking hilarious sketch with the fucking guy in the because you wrote it in an email.
That flamboyant. Yeah, yeah. It was. That's funny. It was like. I don't think it was ever really our intention to open every episode with a song. I think we just usually found that with a lot of the structures we were working with, that was a good place to do it, because we wanted a song in every episode. That was kind of like that was part of the pitch when we were pitching to Netflix. We were like, we love songs and we want to put one in every episode, at least one in every episode. But sometimes we just wanted to, I don't know, it was just like that all came quite natural. And then with the episode order, we're like, oh, it'll be good to break it up because we found that, but almost do that thing that I think you've just said is the way we found with the episode order is we'd lead people into believing, oh, they understand what the episode structure is now. And then even break that most basic of kind of structures and circumvent that expectation,
So how did you guys come up with an episode? The series. I'm curious. Did you? Because people had asked this about me. I had a series just came out called The Cabin on Netflix.
Yeah, I watched it. It's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. And I really didn't have any answer for anyone. They're like, "How did you guys do this? How did you shoot it?" And we were really like, kind of like all over the place. But I'm curious. Did you beat out a series? You can't hang on. Let me start this over.
Yeah.
I understand that you guys come up with a theme for a show, whether it be the Fringe Festival or whatnot, and everyone, whether it was the Romper Room or every one was thematic, and this one was the big old fun house. And so it's all about your experiences in this one house, correct?
Yeah.
And then
very much so.
And then you tell me the rest. How did you beat out an entire season and then weave in? I'm curious.
So we did a live show. Our last live show was called Glenridge Secondary College. So it was set in a high school, in a secondary school. And for the first time, we always struggled with plot. And I think particularly where we struggled was in the last act. We'd always do a bunch of sketches, and then the last act was just so much exposition to kind of pull it all together. So we just thought, all right, let's try something different. Let's do the plot first. Let's decide what the plot is and then build the sketches to that. And then we found that when you do that, you can actually do very minimal, very small plot. So basically, the way each episode worked is we'd go, all right, what's the plot? Someone's going on a date. And then we'd go, all right, so all you need to do is set up that they're going on a date at the start. Let's do that the funniest way possible, and we'll do it in a page. And then all you need to do is them going on a date at the end, and let's do that the funniest way possible. And then all that is basically is a launching pad for every sketch. Every sketch kind of needs something that starts it. It needs that first 20 seconds of, in every sketch, say you'd have someone coming into a barbershop and they would say, "Hey, I'm going on a date. Can I get a new haircut?" And we were like, let's just take that 20 seconds. Let's cut it from every sketch, but let's make the inciting incident of every sketch the start of the episode, and then basically just strung them all together. People think there's a flow to the episodes. Most sketches you could flip around inside an episode more than you'd realize, just because every sketch is just like, someone's going on a date, but now this. Someone's going on a date, but now that. So it's much less clever than people realize. I shouldn't say that.
Like another big thing, a really simple thing of like where the structure for this show comes from is like our live show. And it's just like a real core thing to us that we've never really thought about, but we're not huge on punchlines. Like there's this huge premium sometimes on sketch comedy where it always comes together in one beautiful ending. Yeah. And when we were writing our live shows, the things like very early on, we would often, instead of finishing with a big, with the podcast, the end of the punchline, we'd bring in the next sketch and transition to the next one to kind of avoid the moment where you're like the big ending. Yeah. So like that's kind of where we we're not very good at writing punchlines a lot of the time. So we've learned to kind of mesh interesting ideas next to each other, and you're just sticking around for the funny moments. You see it in stand up a lot as well, where people just stick to a theme for a while and then just sort of change subject without it having that big, I don't know.
I'm obsessed with the opposite. In my acts, I had one night where I had I was in Calgary. And I had this joke. I was drunk and I fucked this joke up, and it was a time travel joke about my daughter being weird, and then her catching me on an edible and asking me about time travel, and I pulled it together, and I fucked it up so bad that the beginning of the joke ended up at the end, but it seemed like an ending, and they applauded, and I got I was like, they applauded, like what were they applauding for? And this kid been doing stand up maybe 4 years. Was not the greenest dude, just goes real simple. He goes, oh, we knew it was over. And I went, what? He goes,
Yeah,
we knew it was done. It's like a natural reaction. When something's done, you're like, oh, that's done. And I went, wow. And then I got obsessed with it in a bad way. I felt like every bit I did was, and that's the end of this lesson.
That's so funny. We have in our second episode in this, we have an episode where we're hunting for treasure.
I know that one, yes.
We were talking about it yesterday. It's like we've often been criticized early in our live shows as they just kind of end, and we love like just blowing shows up and ruining the ending. And like what we found is that people, even if it means nothing, subconsciously always want a happy ending, a really like book, like closing of the book. It's all happy, right? So the treasure ending, not to talk about too much.
I'm scrolling on my phone right now so I can treasure ending. Oh, the Ellen DeGeneres. And
yeah, but just after that.
Yeah.
It makes no sense whatsoever. There's characters that we've killed off that come back. There's no
consistency.
Nothing works.
There's no narrative. Like it makes no sense. But we find the treasure and it's all happy. And people watch it and go, "That's great! You bring it all together." It makes no fucking sense, Bert. But it's just that feeling. Like, oh, it's a happy ending, and people really
the false sense of something cyclical is really funny to us. Like it's something that has just been completely unearned, but you give them the feeling of something earned when actually it hasn't been done at all. It's really, because we were talking about yesterday about how that's like one of our favorite jokes at how we do that, but not a lot of people in our lives have picked up on the fact that it's a complete fucking bullshit ending, and it's just this. It's just a vibe, and it doesn't actually make any sense.
Yeah, there's nothing we love. We do it in our live show a lot, where it either doesn't make sense, or it's actively like everyone's dead, or it's actively a bad ending. But we end it on an uptick.
You treat it.
We treat it like yes! Come on, everyone, and it's exactly what you're describing. If you give people the beats of an ending, they're so happy. They leave on an up, and it's like how you can fuck with people with that rhythm is phenomenal. It's so funny.
Did you guys write the Ellen DeGeneres sketch before she got in trouble?
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's an old sketch. We wrote that in our third year. I think
we've had a lot of people going, yeah. Wow, like you really responded to the Ellen scene. It was like, man, we wrote this in 2014 or something. Like
that used to be like gives people free shit. That nothing else.
I remember like that was just like a joke Broden and I used to do with each other on the phone. Like he called me once just as I was going into my call center job, and I was like, who is it? He's like, we would literally just do that. And he's like, go outside. There's something for you outside. I'm like, oh, it's a spicy burrito, and we just do that for like. I was late to work one time because we were just doing it for so long, and then this is in like 2013, man.
Oh, I get that. I get that vibe from you guys. What was the one I was watching today? A bit of pud.
Oh, little pud,
little pud. And I could not. By the way, pud for us means dick, but
does it? Yeah. That's why it went so viral. That's why people love that so much, obviously.
But I go, oh, this is. I'm curious if that is something that someone says something and then you guys start riffing, or I wondered how quick do they write a sketch sometimes where someone goes, a little bit of pud, and then someone immediately you guys are like, all right, that's a bit. That's going to be a fucking sketch,
It's a bit of both, and it kind of depends on the sketch. So there's like something like Ellen, it was built through improv, but then that's word for word perfect. Like when we perform it, because it's so vocally demanding, me and Mark alternate on who plays the character getting the prizes because it's so screamy. Yeah. So that's how word perfect it is that someone can slot in. Then pud, for example, I always loved how British people said pud. That's one element that was sort of came second. But I always thought it's a real, like, British people are so classy, but they sound like children sometimes with some of their words. They're like, I'm going to go have some pud with mummy. It's like, okay, that's weird. You're weird. That's a weird thing to describe dessert as, you weirdos. And then we also were like, let's do a Christmas sketch. It's Christmas time. How about something how there's always a bit of room for Christmas pudding? Then we kind of put them together. That was literally the idea, is putting those two things together. The script was maybe 4 lines of dot points. It was Zach is too full for pud. Broden maybe has room for custard. That was the script. And then we shot like half a day worth of improv. And then it really all is on Max, our director and editor on those stuff and co-editor on the series to kind of bring it all together. Because
go Max. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, it's just kind of like everything for us starts with, we've gotten to a point now where everything starts as an idea big enough that you can fit it on a Post-it note. And when we're writing, we have like a wall of Post-it notes and they've got 1 or 2 words on them. And it's just the idea. So that one just said pud on it, right? Yeah. And then depending on what the idea is, once we like, because we'll have a big pitching session and we'll write up all those Post-it notes and have them on the wall. And then the next phase is we pick out the Post-it notes we're the most excited about. We get them down and then we have a big discussion about them. Now, depending on where that discussion goes, depends on how scripted something gets, basically. Because for something like Pud, we were like, that is an idea that we could shoot with no script in our office, improv around that. And there's sketches in our show, in our Netflix show, that have that same vibe, like the guys fighting out the front of the bar, for example, was like, we had to write a script for Netflix, but essentially we were like, here's a list of dot points and things we want to riff around. And then there's other ones like Piss Drinker, for example, that is just like very, very scripted and very like boom, 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 It just all depends on what that germ is and where it takes us, I guess.
Can I ask you a question, Bert?
Sure.
Do you ever have jokes, like you have your audience who love you and like will come and see you and will watch all of your specials, but do you ever have like jokes that like cut through to a completely different audience for some reason and just endear you to new people? Does that ever happen?
Yeah, but I think it's the wrong people.
Like, often that's what happens, right? So like with this, like with Pud, for example, the one you're talking about, we have like a core audience, which is like alternative, comedy dorks and weirdos. That's kind of our people, right? But sometimes you do a video that like just becomes huge with like jocks or like a different scene, and then like you go out to a pub or something and everyone's like, I fucking love you, man. And it's just like you find this completely weird audience for one thing you do. I was curious if that happens with you.
Yeah, no, I get it's funny. I was that guy that you just described to, there was a sketch group called The State back when I was in college.
Oh, cool.
The State.
I haven't. No, I haven't.
I've heard of them. Yeah.
They're fucking, it's Michael Ian Black, Thomas Lennon.
Stella.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, Stella. They're Stella too. But David Wayne, they were called The State. They were on MTV. And I ran into them in Greece at a place called the Pink Palace. And I walked up to them and was like, dude, I fucking love you. And I remember David Wayne going, really? And I went, yeah. Like they were the reason I got humor was just off. It's very, I found it to be very similar in tone to what you guys do, but very different, I think.
We arrived. It's funny because we've now had 2 members of Stella tweet about us, about saying how similar we are and in a complimentary way. And it's so funny because we kind of like, I would say Bro and Mark are the biggest Stella fans, but that all happened after we'd already started. We were already quite established. We're about a year and a bit in. We'd sort of established our voice a little bit. We'd done 2 shows. When someone said, you're a lot like Stella, I think we just, for some reason, the shared influences, the combination of being inspired by people that inspired Stella and inspired by people that were inspired by Stella and the State kind of came together, that we've ended up with a similar sort of voice, but we've arrived at it independently, if that makes sense. But we've heard we're very, very similar.
I think I would have sniffed out there's similarities in that there's 3 of you for Stella, because Stella had a show on Comedy Central that I watched that I think my buddy produced. And you're still very, very different. Your energy is by the way, all respect to David Wayne, Michael Showalter, and Michael Ian Black, but your energy is more varied. Their energy is all very similar. It's very their sense of humor is all this sounds horrible because I love them, but I'm not saying anything bad, but they all kind of play a version of the same guy. Whereas
kind of their bit in a way, like that's
Yeah, it's quite. They're quite a uniform. We love that show. We only
We
discovered
found it.
that sitcom this year, and just lost our fucking minds over it.
That's
I was
gotta be
just
crazy
like,
for you to just find it and know that your sensibilities are
Yeah.
similar.
it's
Mark and I
it's
watched it, and we're like, this is. Well, let's just do this for season
I was
2.
like, I wish this was our show. Like, I loved it. We loved it so much. Like the way they took sitcom structure and just like went fuck you with it, you know.
Yeah.
And it feels like, I don't know. To me, it's like, I don't know if this is a weird thing to say, but I feel like if those guys had grown up with the internet, they would have been us. Like we just sort of came up in the same way and liked the same kind of weird shit. But because we had the internet and we grew up with the influence of the internet, we turned out a little bit differently. You know, it's like, it's kind of happening to music at the moment as well. Like there's this band I love called 100 Gex, which is like, they're doing very similar electronic stuff to stuff that people have done before. But because they grew up so heavily ingrained with the internet, it comes out real fucking weird and a bit different. And I'm like obsessed with them. I feel like that's what we are to Stella in some ways.
Yes, I just downloading them right now.
Oh, 100 Gex are fucking, pardon?
They're out of St. Louis.
Yeah, they're fucking cool, man.
This podcast is brought to you by Raycon wireless earbuds. I was just thinking about these earbuds the other day because I was walking through Best Buy and I saw the lineup of all the uber expensive earbuds, a lot of which, if you're like me, you run on the treadmill or you run outdoors, then you take off, you throw in your pocket, then you wash them, or you lose one, I've lost so many earbuds. It's crazy. What I love about these is these are half the price with amazing audio quality, comparable to all the premium brands. And like I said, they start at half the price. So this holiday season, get someone something they can use for calls, for musics, for podcasts. They are tiny. They literally mold right into your ears. So I throw them in my ears and pass out listening to podcasts at the end of the day. Work, play, at home, on the go. Pick up yourself a pair. Pick some up for a friend. Today you can save big on a gift they're going to use every single day. These Raycon wireless earbuds, it's never too early to start gift shopping for the holidays. And now's the time. Go to buyraycon.com/Bertcast today to get 20% off your Raycon order, but hurry. This offer is available for a limited time only and you don't want to miss it. That is buyraycon.com/Bertcast to get 20% off your Raycons. Buyraycon.com/Bertcast. This holiday season, the best deal in wireless can only be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you get another 3 months for free. As the first company to sell premium wireless services online only, Mint Mobile lets you safely order from home and maximize your savings with plans starting at just $15 a month. Halston has been using Mint Mobile all this whole time. Am I correct?
Yeah, I would run out of data on UFC fights and podcasts because those are so long.
Dude,
like,
podcasts, right?
Live sports and stuff. And so I don't have to worry about going over like data or anything like that with Mint Mobile. It's pretty dope.
Their offer is the best of the year, and it's here right now for a limited time. Buy any 3-month plan and get 3 months more for free. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes significant savings on to you. All plans come with an unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. And if you are not 100% satisfied, Mint Mobile has you covered with their 7-day money-back guarantee. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. For a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/Bertcast. That's mintmobile.com/Bertcast. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Bertcast.
Have you there's a bit in the first episode of Stella which I think about every day where or the real estate where they go and see it, they go and inspect a really big house because they need to move house, and they go and see a real estate agent, this lady, and for some reason 2 of them leave the room and David just stays, and just the energy completely shifts and they just start making out really. It's the fucking, I think about it every day.
They're the kings of that. They're the kings of like I know the thing I think about every day is there's a bit where there's this little sketch they did a little while ago where they go and they try and find Santa Claus, and they find Santa Claus, and then his wife is there, and then Santa Claus leaves, and then Santa Claus' wife goes, "Did you guys know I have a cock?" And they went, "No," and then they start sucking Mrs. Claus off, and it's getting like really intense, and they're sucking her off, and they're all sucking her off, and then it's like really full on and sexy, and it gets super horny, and then it just cuts. And they're all laughing and thanking each other as they're leaving. It's just like this instant, and they constantly do these tonal shifts. I've got to be careful. I can't watch that show too much because I know that if we get a season 2, I'm just gonna do that because I love it. And it's just like that's all I want to do, you know.
I gotta get you guys a copy of the State. I'll see if
please. I didn't realize there was a pre-Stellar thing. That's fucking cool.
The State has lines in it that I, to this day, I think of, like there was a coach talking to his track team, and he was like, and there was one guy on the team called Baloney Feet who had baloney feet, and he just goes so sincere. He goes, "If you guys had half the heart of Baloney Feet," I mean, just that I say over and over. My favorite sketch they probably ever did was they had a mailman who stopped delivering mail and started delivering tacos. and Michael Ian Black comes out and he's like, "Here's the thing, Bill. I'm worried about my mail." And the guy goes, "Whoa, I think we're saying a lot of things that we're not meaning right now. I'm assuming you don't like my tacos." And he goes, No. I love your tacos. They might in fact be the best tacos I've ever had in my life. It's just without my mail, I can't pay my bills." And he goes, "I'm hearing you don't like my taco." Like, it's just the goofiest, like, and that was and that's why I enjoyed you guys so much, because there's something about sketch comedy. Correct me if I'm wrong about this, but it leaves you feeling better sometimes than stand-up does. I think stand-up's often, and I don't know if because you're alone on stage, stand-up has a tendency to, and I don't like using this term, but punch down.
Sure.
Where sketch always punches up. It always seems like sketch is always good time adjacent. Like one of the sketches you guys do is something you shot. I really don't think you shot it on purpose. It's about someone called you gay. I think someone called was it Mark gay?
Yeah.
And I mean, at first I was like, I really looked at it and I was like, all right, we're like an eighth away this video in. Where the fuck is this going? And then by the end, I'm like, holy shit. But that's what I love about that is, like, in that sketch, it takes the direction that it forces you to realize all the times that I remember. I immediately identified to a time I was riding a bike in Tallahassee with my shirt off, and some guy goes, "Hey man, what's up?" And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Faggot," and I just took off, right? And I was like, what the fuck did I do? Like, and so immediately I'm forced to go there because that's the beginning of the sketch. But then it takes it to a way of explaining that the reason the guy does that is that he's got his own fears, but it's funny, and the whole time I'm going, does he have cue cards up? How does he know this? And then I'm like, it makes you feel good. And I wonder if you notice sometimes in watching stand-up that stand-up sometimes has a tendency to not care if you feel good or not.
Well, it's
really interesting.
It's just a different art form, isn't it? Like I could never do stand-up. If I wanted to do stand-up, I would have to start from the start. That's genuinely, I would be, I think, as bad as any open micer. Even though I'm now a professional comedian, if I got on stage with a microphone and tried to do stand-up, because it's just a completely different form. And I think that's part of it. I think there's an element where with sketch, we can bounce off each other. We're protected by each other. Whereas with stand-up, you're just talking, and it's all you. And I think there's just an element, I suppose, where, I don't know, you kind of have to go in. Like there's just a point in your career as a stand-up where you have to start investigating yourself. You have to start questioning things. Whereas sketch, you can kind of, whenever we have those moments, there's the others can just sort of pull us out and keep it as this sort of shared positive party kind of experience, if that makes sense.
The core of what we're all doing, I think, which is a reason why I think you get that, is I think the main thing that we're really selling is that it's just a couple of buddies screwing around. Like it really is just you and your mates. And like, I think obviously sketch can be like topical. SNL every week is, you know, incredibly topical. But like, I think that might be the reason for it, is like we're trying to give you the sense of you're hanging out with your friends. And often stand-up can often be like someone's thesis or someone's manifesto, or, you know, or it can be sometimes talking to a buddy. But I think for us, it literally is just our mentality is, hey, don't worry about anything else. It's just us hanging out and having fun. And that's kind of the core of what we do.
To get kind of like a little deep on it for a second, I think, I don't know how to get this without going too wanky, but I think there's like, there's a lot of versions of a person. Like every person has many versions of themselves, many selves. And I think that, you know, who we are with our mates when we're fucking around is different to who we are when we're at school, who we are when we're at work, who we are when we're with our parents. And I think that with stand-up, you kind of probably have to tap into a sort of solitary, thoughtful version of yourself, even if you're doing the buddy stuff. Whereas with us, we can always tap into that energy. I get very in my head, but I don't have to be that with Donna. I can put that in other places. Like when we're hanging out, we can always keep it at that level. And I think there was one point midway through our career where we thought, oh, we should comment on things and we should engage with stuff and we should change people's hearts and minds. And then we're like, actually, there's a lot of value to just being the escape for people. People are in their heads all fucking day. This can be 2 hours of just, you know, punching up and just joy, you know, just positivity, just fun. And there's something of value to that as well, I think, you know?
Yeah, I think what you said is really accurate. In stand-up, I don't really have anyone to, when I get too introspective or get to like I don't have anyone to bounce that off of to go, yeah, I think you're overthinking that little thing. Is this connecting to something in your childhood? And you're like, I don't know. Yeah,
it's harder to undercut, I suppose, when you're on your own.
I'm on this bit. I have this bit that I'm obsessed with. I don't really talk about too much topical. I don't ever talk about topical stuff. I try to stay out of politics. I want my stand-up to be, I want it to be a release. I want you to kind of, to be able to tap out from life. But I also realize that sometimes I'll take a stance on things like fucking gun control, but I want you to know I stand on both sides of the fence, that I don't want to alienate anyone. But there's this, I'm obsessed right now with gay dudes buying presents for other gay dudes. They're so good. They're good at it. Oh my God. They're so much better. So Tom Segura is my best friend. We have a podcast together, and he bought me a present for my birthday. He bought me a $3,000 e-bike. It's an electronic bike, goes 30 miles an hour. It beat every present my wife has ever bought me in my entire life. Like, never has my wife known what I wanted more. And we podcast, and we're like, I bet gay dudes buy the best gifts for their boyfriends. And they started emailing us and going, actually, we fucking kill it in the gift group. and so I'm obsessed with it as a bit where I go, last night I was, and I think it was because of your sketch calling the guy calling you gay, riding your bike or whatever, walking down the street. I didn't think anything in the moment, but we were with a gay couple, and they were talking about how they're soulmates. And I was saying, oh, well, me and my wife are soulmates. And then I thought, I bet me and my wife are nothing compared to these two. Like, I bet we could, because what we're doing is so unnatural. A man and a woman is so unnatural, as opposed to two men, is like, I bet they really are in love. Like their love is so much deeper than what we could ever have. We're different. I don't like half of the shit she likes. Like, we don't get excited for the same shit ever. Like,
yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, I bet I couldn't fathom. And so I'm trying to write a bit, but I definitely don't want to be heavy-handed in trying to tell people their politics, but I think everyone should love gay people. I don't think that should be something I don't think that's something you should be splitting hairs on, you know?
Yeah.
I lean into the part where I start going, I start going as a joke. And this is where I think I would love to have friends to be able to run your bit, because you can't just start off a joke and go, I think being gay is so much better than being straight. And then here are my points. What I do.
Yeah.
So this is the beginning of, in my head as I'm working this out, I'm like going, you open up with, I think they should outlaw homosexuality, and then flip it and say all the reasons that it's so much better than what we have. And then, so I'm trying to work it that way.
Yeah, right.
But I go, and I literally was thinking about you guys because of, John Cleese has dug his heels in so much in PC talk, where you go, what was the parrot a Mexican? Like, what was the
what's
Such an old man.
Yeah, was the parrot indigenous? Why? Wait, why? I'm kidding.
What is it? What's Faulty Towers about?
What's actually going on under the hood there? There's some crook shit, no doubt.
He really, it's got to be hard, because Monty Python was just genius for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's my thing is like, I listen to John Cleese in the same way I listen to my palliative care 98-year-old grandfather, and just go like, let's just okay, he's that's a shame. But also,
you
I
get
think
to a point, don't you, where you're like, thank you for 1960 through 1995. Thank you so much for that period of your career.
It's fucked for me, because like I was never a creative person. I went to acting school and I was like, I'm just going to be an actor and I'm just going to read people's lines and never really think that much. And then in Australia, I left university and I was like, fuck, you can't act here unless you're Chris Hemsworth or Rusty Crowe. And that's the end of it. So like, we're like, fuck, I have to learn how to write and be funny real quick. And so like I didn't know how to be creative or to write, or, when I was 21, and I watched a video that John Cleese did, like, because he was, I think he went to Oxford or Cambridge or one of those two, and was a scientist. And he did a talk once where he broke down how to be creative as a method, as scientist, like what are the things that make you creative? And it's an awesome video, but it's the main thing. It's the main core of how I write now, like of how I've become a creative person. It's things like separate yourself for an hour and say you're focused on this. Don't think hard, just be around an idea. Just stuff that was super, super helpful for me. But it's a shame that he's an old man now and he's saying old man things.
I don't think Twitter's ever done anything good for anybody. I think we should just shut it down. Shut it down. If you like what someone does, don't ask them any more questions. Like, let's shut down Twitter. Let's stop asking people questions. Let's stop it,
Dude, the amount I wish there was an appreciation for the amount of restraint I show by not responding to people. Like,
oh man.
This
is the other thing that it is great about having a group. This is the other thing that if I was a stand-up, because we're divisive, right? We choose to be divisive. We made a choice, we made a lot of choices with this show, and we talked about a lot of sort of mantras about how we would approach this show. But I remember the big thing I went in with, and I can't remember if this was collective or just me, but I think it was collective, was if someone doesn't like this show, I didn't want them to be like, that was good, but not for me. I wanted them to be like, that's too much. That show is too intense and I don't care for it. I wanted people to either like it or be like, too much.
And if you look at our Internet Movie Database reviews, I think we've achieved that, Zach.
Yeah, we achieved that, right? I definitely wanted it to feel like on the edge of something you enjoy and something that's a little too much. You want someone to come out of our show going, fuck, I need to take a Valium. And when you do that, right, that's a choice you make because it means that the people that like it love it, right? And it's a thing that I've really enjoyed, we really enjoy. But what also happens is you get people on Twitter that have decided that comedy is objective, that rather than go, oh, wow, I hated that, they go, this is not good. And just like, this is not good. You are all wrong. Everyone that likes this is wrong because it's not good and there are not jokes. It's like, well, there are structured jokes, you just don't like them. They're like, no, there are no jokes. And thank God we have like private group chats, because I've written like diatribes. I've written full essays in response to a single tweet being like, not for me. I've written these massive fucking essays, and then I've just sent it to the guys, and none of them read it. They'll give it a like. But then thank God that's not going out on Twitter, because who gives a fuck what someone's like a comedian's response is to someone who doesn't like what they do, you know?
We're lucky because there's a weight of responsibility when any one of us replies from the, title Aunty Donna. It's representing the thoughts and the feelings of 6 people who very, very rarely all feel and think exactly the same way on something, so we can't, if there's one tweet that really fucks off one of us, that's like sets us on fire, is like, I'm going to murder this person. There's someone else in the group who's just laughing at it and thinks it's a bit dumb, so we can't do that because it doesn't represent all of us, So it's nice because it gives us a little bit of accountability, and we can check in with each other and go, oh, no, fuck that person. It's fine. We can move on. We don't need to talk about that.
If you want to start a group chat,
I need a group. I'm like, I have one tweet some guy sent me like 3 days ago that I am still chewing on. And I've crafted so many responses that I'm like, and by the way, this is so bad. I'm talking about it in therapy, like, because I read the 4 Agreements. I don't know if you've heard of that book, but it's basically whatever. I don't know. I'm not really good at reading, so like I'm half reading it. But one of the things they said was, and it goes back to, and this is what by the way, I know you. As I'm bringing up this gay sketch, you're probably like, we barely shot that, Bert. We weren't even mic'd. Like, why do you keep bringing this up, this fucking sketch? But it is, when someone says something negative to you, if you choose to take that poison, then you are choosing to take their poison. And so what's crazy is that comedy became that. It became pick a team almost. In America, it did. It was like you were either a fan of alt comedy or a fan of bro comedy. That was like our sand in the line, and our line in the sand. And ultimately, anyone who does comedy likes all of it. But
yeah.
And I don't know if it was a way to garner fans or to get fans to respect you differently to claim a group. But it's so funny to me as I go, and what's so funny to me is that, like, sometimes my wife came in. I'll give you just paying respect to this. Don't ever listen to my wife's comic takes on anything. And you guys were playing 2 South Africans in the backyard who were not really South Africans. And my wife comes in, leans in, goes, "What are you watching?" And I said, "Oh, it's Aunty Donna." And she goes, "What is it?" And I said, "Oh, they're on the podcast tomorrow. They got a Netflix special. You should check it out." And she leans in, and you're doing South African accents. And she goes, "Where are they from?" I said, "Australia." And she goes, "They don't sound Australian," and just walked away. And I went, "You just wrote off the entire fucking series because you don't know what a South African sounds like? You fucking idiot. Like, I can't believe I'm fucking married to you. If I had a gay husband, he would have been like, that doesn't sound, hey buddy, where's that from? Like, what the fuck?"
That's so funny.
But it's interesting. Yeah. It's an interesting point I have, is that you guys have set yourself up. You've done very well in all the festivals, all like Fringe in Edinburgh, in Melbourne, in Sydney, all around internationally. And when you throw your hat in the ring in America, you really are asking, you're almost, especially doing what you guys do, you're almost asking for hate. Like, it's a weird, like, America's such a shithole of opinion. Like, it really is. And I live here. The toxicity that's going on in our goddamn country right now is so bad and sickening that it's so far from the country I grew up in, that when you guys come as outsiders, I'm curious, how do you feel like when, like, being thrown into our WWE ring?
It's kind of like, I feel like, comedy is a much needed medicine, like everywhere at the moment, but particularly America. We've toured, we've done a couple of tours of the US and like, it's only once we did a tour of the US that you fully appreciate that you really are a continent more than you are a country. Like,
it's a quirk of history, man. It is a quirk of history that you're one country. Like, and it's very admirable that it's one country. It truly
You know,
is.
you talk about California being one of the biggest economies in the world, let alone a state of one country. And like when you do shows in California and they're cool, and then you go to Texas and you have people in the meet and greet who have MAGA hats on, and then you go up to New York and it's different again, and Philly, and then you go to Des Moines. Like it's a very big place, but like there's people everywhere. Even though you look at that, you look at that election thing, you see red states, blue states. There's like diverse senses of humor everywhere, and people who love comedy everywhere, and they all come and like, there's no political lines for a weird alternative comedy that sings a song about mourning brown. Like there's so our experience of America is very different to yours. We come in and see people who like our shit, and then we go home. So it's it's like Disneyland for us in a lot of ways. We were asked
especially
to leave.
Disneyland is like Disneyland.
We went to Disneyland a lot when we were doing the show, but like we had a lovely time. And then like March 14 this year, they were like, you need to get the fuck out of this country right now before, and like because of COVID, and we got like sent immediately home. So apart from that, it was a lovely experience.
Support for the Bertcast comes from Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Listen, I am generation 1.0 and guys that started shaving their balls. We had to do it with straight-up clippers, straight-up liners. And when you got the back of your sack, you would char that bitch. I mean, literally just, and blood would pour. Man, blood pours out of ball sacks like it does faces. It is horrible. And untrimmed pubes, who's been doing that? I mean, I trim my, Leanne talked about it on your mom's house, I think, or on with Tom and Push. I've been trimming my balls forever. It's time to gear up and get yourself the gift of shaving this holiday season. I'm talking about Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0. Revolutionary company that Manscaped is, has redesigned the electric trimmer. Their Lawnmower 3.0 has proprietary advanced skin-safe technology, which I would have loved back in the day. So this trimmer cuts on your nuts. It's also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. It comes in their brand new Perfect Package 3.0, which makes for the perfect gift this holiday season. It's literally everything you need to keep trimmed, cut-free, and smell nice down there. That's right, smell nice down there. And by the way, don't use the same trimmer as you use on your face on the balls. That's disgusting. The Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0 also includes Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. Look, you already put deodorant on your armpits. Why are you not putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your bodies? And that smelliest part of your bodies is your testicles. Speaking of sweaty and sticky balls, I'm very thankful for their Crop Reviver. Along with this product and the Crop Preserver, you can keep your balls from sweating and smelling and sticking to your nuts like fucking bat wings. All these products smell good. Their manly scent is attractive and will help set the mood, if you know what I mean. The Perfect Package also comes with a pair of Manscaped boxers, so you can keep that junk feeling fresh all day long. Upgrade those boxers. These anti-chafing, high-performance boxers are perfect. This is the season. So get yourself, get your dad, get your brother, get your friends, the best gift of all, Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code BERT at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. That is 20% off and free shipping with the code BERT at manscaped.com. 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And use the code BERT. Keep up your nuts and make Santa proud. This podcast is brought to you by Skylight Frames. If you are looking for a Christmas present this season, this is the present that I bought my friend Tom Hayslip, my friend Eric Cruz, and my friend Stephen Fromkin, their wives, my sisters, my moms, my dads, my Aunt Judy, I think we gave it to my agents and my managers. This is why I love this. This is the greatest gift you can give anyone. Skylight Frame is a photo frame that you can update instantly by email from anywhere. It's a special gift for all the special people in your life who, and I'm telling you, it's a great way to feel close. All you got to do is get on your phone. You upload a picture that you have on your phone to this frame. It shows up on their frame, and it's a great way to keep up with your parents. We upload pictures of my nephew, my daughters, myself. I have the picture of myself at the bearskin rug on it. It is effortless, and literally sending a photo to Skylight Frame is so easy. Everyone in your family can just email them to this personal Skylight email address, and they just pop up. We have one for our friends, the campers, and one for our friends that are for our family, and then one for business one. And we just post them up, and everyone, it's beautiful. They have black frames, they have white frames, and it looks like a photo, but they keep changing. And then I go every now and then when it's right by our coffee maker, I'll go and I'll see one that I haven't seen in a while, and I'll swipe back. All right, now I'm obsessed with the pictures of my daughters before they got their teeth fixed. It reminds me of a very, very, very happy place in my life. And I end up making my coffee and sitting by my Skylight frame on my elbow, just swiping through pictures. Absolutely gorgeous, 10-inch touchscreen, 100% satisfaction guaranteed. And if you don't love your Skylight, they're going to give you a full refund. You can preload it with all your favorite pictures for a personalized gift. Import photos of yourself or your significant others, your grandparents, your everyone. It's awesome. This is the perfect gift to give your mom, your dad, so they can enjoy all the pictures of the grandkids. And literally, it just changes. So every time you walk into the room, it's a brand new picture. Right now, as a special offer, you can get $10 off your first purchase of a Skylight frame. I'm telling you, this is what you want to buy your family. When you go to skylightframes.com and enter the code BERT, that's right, $10 off your first purchase of a Skylight frame. Just go to skylightframe.com and enter the code BERT. That's skylightframe.com with the promo code BERT. SKYLIGHTFRAME.com. And the promo code's BERT. You will thank me. I promise you.
Yeah. It's very like there's a whole thing with Mark grew up in a outer suburb bordering on a sort of like a rural city. I grew up in I call myself the comedy's chubby Billy Elliot because I grew up in like coal mining country. And Broden grew up in the suburbs, and we all grew up in very different experiences, but we all came to this taste and we all came to this style of comedy. So I think we're pretty well versed in this notion that like there's a kid in every place that likes what we do and wants what we do. And I think people make a lot of assumptions. They make a huge amount of assumptions. They think that tastes and ideas and types of people are based on geography. And I think that's less the case than people realize. Our tour manager toured, who did 50 states? Eddie Izzard did 50 states. He toured every single state of the US. And our tour manager talked about that and talked about, it's going to be challenging some states. And they got there and he talked about getting to every single state and going, there is alternative in every single state of America. And there are people in every single state of America that love this and want this. And it's like, I think people can get really reductive and they can go, that group of people over there all think that way. And it's like, that's just as bad. We've all just got to like, just find a little bit of positivity, find a bit of joy, find a bit of fun. And I think I think there's some value to that, I really do.
I think what you're saying is honestly worth gold right now because, what is super sad is when as a performer, you alienate a group of people based on either their politics or their identity or like their sexuality, their how they identify. If it's, as soon as you start doing that, you start really closing off the world. And I think you're right, is there are guys in MAGA hats that come to my shows, come to your shows. I had a guy in Arizona give me a Trump flag. And I was like, and by the way, I don't talk politics, but like, I don't really give a fuck. If you're there to have a good time, that's what comedy's there for. Your politics, I don't think your politics define you as a person one way or the other. Of course, there are horrible people in the world, but that doesn't mean anything. And you're right. You can, what can make you laugh? I remember Patrice O'Neal saying, Patrice O'Neal's a great American comedian.
Yeah.
And he said, I love the song Yellow Submarine. I fucking love it. And I said, really? And he goes, I love that song. For whatever reason, I hear it, it just makes me happy. I said, really? And he goes, here's the problem. I can't really play that in my car. You can't see a 320-pound black dude rolling around 22-inch rims just, we all live in a yellow submarine. But you're right. And that's what I think is really cool about what you guys do is that everyone, you never know who's the cowboy the coal miner might have a fucking quirky sense of humor. And that might make him laugh. And I think that's so fucking cool. That you want to know something interesting, that the Sex Pistols, when they first did their first tour of the US, they were a working class. Punk was very, I guess, working class. I don't know much about socioeconomics in the UK, so I like
it's all the same. It's pretty much the same everywhere, man. Like that's what I've realized the more I've traveled. You've got it's all the Britain has the Queen, so it's a bit more intense, but otherwise.
the tour manager said, you guys are working class kids. We're doing working class cities. We're going to do Birmingham, Alabama. We're going to do Atlanta. This is in the 70s. We're going to do Texas. We're going to do Arkansas. And it was where those people had never seen anyone like that. And the tour was horrible. There's a book. I read a book about it, and it is fucking fascinating.
They started on the East, and they just kept smashing shit across the country. And then by the time they weren't selling that many tickets. And then by the time they got to San Francisco, they sold out a massive venue at in San Fran, and they were like just literally they were so fucking out of it by that point. The show was unlistenable almost. But like they were ridiculous, like just ridiculous. What a moment.
Yeah, but you're right. Now I think with the advent of the internet, your fans, and you're going to have tons of fans in Omaha, where historically you wouldn't think that's where open-minded kind of sketch fans would be. You'd think sketch fans will be in the East Village. They'll be on Franklin Street, in LA. So wait, you guys shot the whole series in LA, huh?
Yeah. We lived in America for about 5 or 6 months. Just making the show. We wrote it for about 6 weeks here in Australia, and then we went over there, polished off the scripts, and kept writing for about a month. Shot it in like 3.5 weeks, right up until Christmas. Had a little break, and then we edited up until we were like, if we don't leave now, we may never leave again. Because, our country, we just had no idea COVID was so new and it was so scary, and it was like, fuck, are they just going to lock us out of our country? We had no idea. So it was unbelievable. Zach and I were living on Hollywood Boulevard, like a 2-minute walk from the Chinese theater on where the Walk of Fame and shit is. And it was crazy, especially now at the moment, right where Zach and I live. There's a fucking billboard of our faces on the corner of La Brea and Hollywood.
I know exactly where you lived. Where you lived.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was just there were times where we'd write, because when we were writing the show, we were writing it on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Next to Amoeba Music.
Yeah, right near Amoeba Music, right? We were writing it there.
Whoa. I just realized you're writing it you worked with Ed Helms.
Yeah.
His offices. Yeah.
Oh, you've been there?
Yeah. I started, I say started with Ed, but we both did this open mic in New York together with this guy, David J. Nash. And so I've known Ed. I would assume he'd still know me, but I've known Ed for, you never know in Hollywood who will forget you. And
who's mates. Yeah.
I've forgotten people. But I know I pitched a movie. I pitched a movie over there to his company.
Oh
I
did
a really embarrassing thing once. His office is really a nice looking office. He's got this whole 1910s aesthetic, it's the old electric company.
Yeah.
And I always was very impressed by it. And we met this Hollywood superstar when we were pitching the TV show, literally before we went into our first meeting. And I was trying to be cool and be nice. And I turned to him and I said, I really love The Office, by the way. It's really nice. And he's like, oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a good show. And I was like, oh, no, I didn't fucking mean the actual TV series, The Office. I mean your actual office.
I didn't mean to reduce that 9-season phenomenon to the word nice.
But can you imagine?
That wasn't my intention.
Who is this asshole trying to schmooze me, talking about the biggest TV series of the last 20 years?
Dude, the greatest thing Ed Helms ever did on television, and I hope to God he hears this, is he got a mole removed on his nose on the Daily Show, and it was fuck. There is no scar whatsoever. I remember watching that, going, I have a mole right here, and I was like, God damn it, man! I should get. He got his he was on the Daily Show, and he just got a mole removed, and it was
oh my god!
And it was on TV, on screen. I have not forgotten that. By the way, I ran into Ed Helms one time, and I was like, this is never take advice from me ever. I ran into a hotel in Boston. He goes, he's shooting something for the Daily Show. And I was like, what's up, man? He's like, how you doing? I said, good. And he's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm just touring. He had just started working for the Daily Show. And And he's like, "Oh, cool, man. Something about living in LA." And I was like, "Yeah." I go, "Listen, Ed, can I give you a little bit of advice?" He goes, "Please." I go, "Never stop doing stand up, man. This shit all goes away, but you can always count on stand up. One day they're not going to call you, but stand up always, because I had a show and it got fucking taken away from me. And then I had to go back to stand up and I was like, I had to relearn everything almost. I go, "Ed, you can't trust this business. You're never going to know what's going to always count on stand up." Now he's one of the biggest movie stars in the world.
But he still does stand up. You probably needed to hear it.
Yeah.
And he still does it. Like I saw him do a couple sets when we were over there. And it's interesting that you say that, because it's very much, in some ways, that's very much our philosophy. Like when we were pitching this show and we were making the show and trying to get it to happen, the idea of getting a show in America was a fucking joke to us. Like in a lot of ways, it was like, there's no fucking way that's going to happen. We're just a couple of like shit stains from like the fucking bottom of the earth, right? Like we're closer to Antarctica than we are to fucking America, right? Like we've got a better chance of getting a show with the penguins than we do with the people in Hollywood, right?
Oh man, sorry. I'm so deeply want to imagine pitching to penguins in Antarctica.
They're just running around.
But they're all just LA. They all talk like LA people. So we love you.
You guys mate for life. We're the same. And like
everyone's been talking about it.
So we have always had that mentality of like we never put all our eggs in this Hollywood basket. Even when it happened, we're always like, we've got to constantly be working on live stuff. We've got to constantly, even if we get the Netflix show, what's the next pitch we're doing to get a web series up, and how are we looking after our YouTube audience? And we've got to make sure we keep doing the podcast. And we've always wanted to keep every single thing going, because if one of them all of a sudden falls off and stops, we still have 5 or 6 things that we've been working on to keep our business afloat. It's been a huge part of our philosophy, and it's very right. It's a right thing to say and do, I think. But
that was Patrice O'Neill's advice to me. We were in Scotland doing the Fringe Festival in like 2000, maybe 99, 2000.
Yeah,
and he said. By the way, that wasn't his technical. Patrice is a very complicated man, so to say that was his advice is very short-sighted.
Well, I wanted to say before that, like, we never got the chance to meet him, but I've just heard so many pearls of wisdom in podcasts and just around the scene from this guy, like, and how he was just like a guru almost.
He was also a cunt, okay? anyone who knew him, like when you hear someone talk too glowingly about him, I mean, like, apparently you didn't know him. This is a perfect example of Patrice. We are in Scotland and I get a TV show and I go and I get a deal. I get a deal and a TV show, and I just had a deal to do a TV show. So and I go, "How great is that, man?" I go, "Actually, I'm going to leave early. My show's starting in like a week. I'm going to make a TV show." I go, "Oh, I'm on TV." And Patrice's advice to me went something like this: "Can I tell you why I feel sorry for you?" And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because you got nothing to fall back on." He goes, "When this show goes away, and it will go away, you got to go all the way to the beginning." And he goes, "Me, I have a foundation. So if they give me a show, I only fall halfway. But you go all the way to the bottom." And I literally thought to myself, he's jealous because I'm making a lot of money and I'm going to LA to do a TV show. And then that show got taken away from me and I went all the way to the beginning. And I was like, I will never forget Patrice's advice, if you want to call it that, his advice of build that foundation and keep raising your foundation. So when that show goes away, you just fall right here and you're like, oh, and then one day your foundation will be past what anyone can give you. And you'll be like, hey, I'm going to do my own thing. And that's the beauty of podcasting now, is that it's helped us raise our foundation to the point where, when COVID happened and everything shut down, everyone's like, just double down on your podcast. And we all felt a lot when you couldn't work, but at least you fell to a base that was manageable, where you weren't going to lose your house, you weren't going to lose your car, you could keep your family safe, So that's the beauty. Tell me about your podcast.
Oh, it's fucked.
Well, that's the last step. So watch the Netflix show, watch the YouTube before you watch the podcast.
Literally,
the podcast is
it's just pretty thing. Like we're all different creatives, and like we all come to shit in lots of different ways. So like I'm very like, I sit there and go, well, I can see the points of how this can become a bit, Mark's very like laser focused and will write a script up. And Zach doesn't particularly love sitting down and writing stuff. But what we'll do, right, is we'll just come in with an idea like a guy with a hat. And then we'll say, all right, let's improv this for half an hour. And Zach will get up with one of us or two of us and we'll just sit there and he'll just do shit and he'll go places that you just would never fucking imagine. Just go, how the fuck did you get to that point in your head? And then we'll go, okay, now that hour's gone. And we'll go, let's take that and make that a thing. And that's like all the weird tangents and stream of consciousnesses in our show. It's like these two guys doing their thing. Anyway, sometimes those ideas in the moment are like the funniest thing in the world that could ever have happened. And then when you try and put it to script and translate it so it's on a live stage, sometimes the magic disappears or like it didn't translate. And so we were like, well, we know that this is funnier than any shit we write. So maybe let's just make a podcast where it's us just doing this. So essentially it's just like us getting our ideas and developing them. And they're about 50-50 hit rate. So sometimes they just go fucking nowhere. And sometimes they're really funny. So we have like this core fan base around the world who love this shit more than our Netflix show because it's that like 100% or 0% thing. But that's essentially what it is. And so it turns people off and it turns people on in a big way.
It's a real cult. It's like it's out of everything we do, it's the most cult thing that we do. Like the people who love it are just fucking die hard. They're just so into it. And it's like, all right, that's cool. Because we really love doing them because they're, the stakes aren't high for us. And we've actually, recently we've only started, like the South African Sams, for example, that you were talking about. That is the first time we've ever taken something that developed in the podcast and put it into another medium, right? So it's really cool to hear you talk about it because we had, our longtime fans and people who've been following our shit show of a podcast for so long fucking was so excited to see something that came out of like a stupid thought and was a dumb little thing now be like, they've gone on that journey because they've been reoccurring podcast characters and now turn into a thing that we're sort of introducing to the whole world. I really think that's a great distillation, Mark, of what our podcast is. If you've seen our Netflix show, the South African characters that your wife described as a bit too much for 2 minutes, we probably have about 3.5 hours of them worth of shit.
Just 3.5 hours of South African, of upper middle class South Africans that now live in Perth, Western Australia, yelling at Mark. Like that's pretty much the.
So yeah, it's.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you keep on.
I was just saying, it's just like what it's turned into us is kind of like this little breeding ground where we can have like a stupid idea that we come up with 5 minutes before we do it. We do it. Sometimes nothing comes out of it. Sometimes something that we all get really excited about and shelve for a later date comes out. So it's become a really interesting place for us to just experiment and fuck around. And that's really what it is. It's definitely not for everyone, but it's sort of just like this creative little bubble where 3 people are trying to make something happen, essentially.
Yeah, my dad asked me about, I do a podcast with Tom Segura, and my dad said, so what is it about? And I said, it's nothing really. He said, well, why would people listen to it? And I said, well, I think if you're a fan of me and Tom's and you'd like it. And he goes, do you guys have you guys do bits and sketches and stuff? And I said, no. He's like, what do you talk about? And I said, nothing really. Like, I don't know, Dad. It's really hard to explain. And he goes, well, like, what's one of your big bits? I go, I drink a gallon of Kool-Aid. And he goes, on the show? I said, no, I just tell Tom I do. And he did. And he goes, wait, I don't get it. So I had to play it for my dad. And I was like, you're not going to think this is funny. By the way, there's no verbiage to it. We're not really talking. Tom just finds out I drink a gallon of Kool-Aid and he can't stop laughing at how much sugar that is. And then I start laughing, and then we're just laughing back and forth. And then look at my dad. My dad's crying, laughing. And he goes, this is the dumbest shit in the world. And I was like, yeah. I go, if you're a fan of ours, you'll like it. But I go, I can imagine people turning it on and just not getting it and going like, yeah. But it's the beauty of a podcast is that I feel like it's an extension of social media to reach out to the people that do like what you do and then show them a little bit of like, I don't know, like maybe behind the scenes, or it would have been cool to know more about my favorite performers. Like I would love to be able to just peruse 1,000 hours of Sam Kinison talking. Like I would love.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that, I think obviously talkback radio has been big for 100 years or whatever, and there's a reason for it. People just like to hang out with someone while they're doing stuff, and podcast is just sort of like conduce that to people who like a lot of the times are too alternative or like aren't saying a mainstream enough thing. You can literally now hang out with people who have the same sense of humor as you on the other side of the earth, and listen and riff with them for an hour. It's great, and people. It's the same. Like I don't know if you know much about Twitch, and I'm just learning about Twitch recently, but that's literally like the core of it seems to be. And Mark will talk to this more than me, but like Twitch is just a place where someone plays a video game and you hang out with them while they play the video game, and people like adore it, just love it. And like,
it's because the immediacy of the interaction. It's like Twitch. Zach compares it to cam girling. I sort of compare it to. It's kind of like it really is kind of like live podcasting or almost radio. It's more like radio in a lot of sense, but you constantly have the line open for people to call in and talk to you and directly interact with them. It's really interesting. Like my favorite, like one of my favorite comedy things in the world is do you know Peter Cook and Dudley Moore? Bert, are you familiar with those two British?
Moore. I know I do, but not well. I know.
They have this. They have these characters that they do called Derek and Clive, which are these like. Anytime you ever think you've done something that's like pushed the boundary or that you're cutting edge, you haven't. If you go back and listen to Derek and Clive, which is shit that the reason I love these tapes so much are these two fucked like derelict characters that these two guys play. And while they were doing their very accessible sort of sketch in suits, like this show called Beyond the Fringe, which was really big and successful. And this is like pre-Python stuff,
1960s, yeah.
Yeah, right. They would often go into a recording studio when they found the time, get like fuck drunk and just say the most like horrific things and be the like these dark, horrible characters, just the complete opposite to what they were doing. And it was all riffed and it was all improvised. And most of it is them saying like, talking about how their old job was pulling lobsters out of some fucking British person's asshole, right? And it's them just trying not to laugh and them trying not to fucking, hold it all together while being incredibly drunk. And it's that insight into just these two friends just talking shit that I think is way more interesting than their very heavily thought out, scripted, it's almost like I like it. Our podcast is it's just an insight into writing almost, Writing is like you'll bang your head against the wall for 45 minutes, but you'll get one good joke and it was worth it, and that's kind of what it is.
Did you ever listen to, and I don't want to confuse it with what the ones that have been animated, but did you ever listen to Ricky Gervais's podcast when it first?
Oh yeah.
And dude, I remember feeling so lucky. I remember feeling special that I found something that I connected with, that I got, that I felt like I was privileged to listen to. And I remember trying to play it for my wife, and she was like, "I don't get it. What's wrong with this guy? Like what?" And I was like, "No, baby, you're missing the beauty of it. Like this is so perfect." But I loved it, and I loved The Office, but I was like, "Oh, this is the best thing I've ever heard in my entire life." I was like, "How do I get on? How do I do one of these?" And I would love to be a part of this. And then, probably 7 years later, I got a podcast. But yeah, that was amazing to me. I got to look Dudley and Dudley Moore.
It's Peter Cook and Dudley Moore are the actors or the comedians, but the character's called Derek and Clive. Just search Derek and Clive on YouTube, man, and having a wank is one of the best fucking sketches ever. And
this bloke came up to me.
This bloke came up to me is just like fucking perfection. It's just. Oh my God, man. Again, anytime I think we've been edgy, I go back and listen to that and I'm like, these guys invented edgy.
This podcast is brought to you by DHM Detox. These are my two drinking buddies. I say this podcast, my tour was sponsored by DHM Detox. I am supposed to have product in hand. I just went to Two Bears, One Cave, and we did a read where they had 2 boxes, and I stole a box, and I've used them all. I've been drinking a little bit lately, and here's the deal. I'm also trying to run 1,000 miles this year. So I don't want to feel less than 100% the next morning. So I take 2 capsules after my first drink, and bam, it goes to work. This is like the vitamin for people who like to enjoy their drinks, but also like to enjoy life when they're awake. You want to maximize those moments. So this holiday season, enjoy your drinks, but get back to doing what you love the next day without feeling like crap. Literally 2 capsules after your first drink, and you feel amazing the next day. And by the way, if you're partying a little extra hard, I throw another 2 capsules in halfway through the night. Tens of thousands of people are using DHM Detox as their drinking buddy. DMH Detox uses science to help boost your body's natural response to alcohol. By the way, I'm out right now. And I have a Two Bears, One Cave tomorrow morning, and I'm a little bummed. Alcohol, and helps break down those toxins. It's the perfect stocking stuffer or gift to your friends, family, and even yourself. Remember, this holiday season is upon us already, so stay prepared for all the festivities and the next day, and the day after that, and 3 days after that one, so you don't have to struggle. No Days Wasted offers a risk-free purchase. So if you don't love it, and you will, if you don't love it, but you will, they'll refund you on your first box. That's a no-brainer. We've got a very special Black Friday sale with 30% off your order and free shipping in the U.S. Just head over to nodayswasted.co/Bert30. Use the promo code Bert30 at checkout. Let me be very clear. That is nodayswasted.co/Bert30. And use the promo code Bert30 at checkout this week, right now only, for 30% off. I'm writing this down.
Yeah, please do yourself a favor. It's the most incredible shit you'll ever hear.
I love that.
In my opinion.
That's what I think is so cool about comedy, and cool with what you guys do is my daughter Isla really enjoyed. Well, it's the only thing she watched was this is a drum. It was the first thing.
Yeah.
And she, when Broden does his voice, Mark, she started laughing, and she goes, "Oh, is that guy in movies? Do I know that guy?" Baby, this is just a sketch. And then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh no, never mind, it works." She started howling laughing, and I go, "Oh," and it's cool. That's one thing I love about comedy and music is to share the shit you like with people and go,
yeah, man,
check this out. I think you're gonna like it. It's really cool to be a part of. When people go, "Hey man, I played the machine." For me, it's always little young boys, not young boys, but like 16, 17-year-old boys showing their dads the Machine story, and then the dads are like, "Dude, my fucking kid showed me this. I loved it." Like and that's what I love about your show and the style of what you guys do is it's so similar to what all the shit that I dig that you can share with someone, and when they get it, we're on the same wavelength.
Beautiful, isn't it?
I think it's worth, I want to get the word out there about like when someone shares you a funny video or a song, that means so much.
So
and you shouldn't take that for granted, because what that person is saying is, this is who I am, or this is me. And if you shoot them down or shit on that, it's like it hurts. And we've all had that experience where we go, "I love this song," listen to it, and someone goes, "I don't like it," or "Watch this funny video and I don't like it." Like, even if you don't like it, just go, "Yeah, it's cool," because you are. When I show someone like something I find funny, I'm saying, "This is me." I'm like, "This is a part of me." It's a big deal.
It is. It's the same with music. I had it happen with a friend recently. I was showing my friend we both like weird shit. We both like weird music. And I showed him some Devin Townsend stuff. And then he just went on this diatribe of like why it's the worst shit he's ever heard in his life. And and he's like, "I'm sorry, but this is why it's bad. It's bad. It's bad." And at the end of it, I was like, I think I'm going to cry. I was like, "You've really upset me."
That is maybe the most profound thing I've heard on this podcast ever. And because I do get my feelings hurt when I show not my friends, like I'm really protective of what I share music wise and like comedy wise. Like right now I'm obsessed with, there's this guy on Instagram called Crime Faces. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Every video is starts his "What hood is this?" and then he commentates a fight happening in a neighborhood, but he commentates it in a really funny way, and I love his voice, and it just is it's done very well, and I've been sharing it with my friends, and I shared it with Ari Shafir, and Ari was like, "Oh, I'm following this guy now." And when you win a victory like that, I showed it to my wife. She goes, "I don't get it," and I was like, "Well, he's just commentating on a fight." And she was like, "Am I supposed to enjoy watching people get beat up?" And I was like, "Oh fuck!" And then I'm like, "Well, now I got to defend who I am," and that's what was upsetting me. And that's one of the things is that if there's one takeaway from this podcast at all is share shit, share, go watch this fucking TV show and share it with the people you trust.
Trust. I love that.
No, because that's like, that's the beauty of fucking what we do is that we're making something and we're giving it to people and going, "Hey man, if you like it, give it to another person." It's a really cool fucking concept. And I never thought of it that way.
No, it's like it's a gift for people. It's going, "Hey, come share this thing with me," or come like this thing. And it's a huge responsibility to the people who are receiving it. Even if you don't like it, you give it a chance, or you say, "Great," or "I'm glad you like this." Not
don't be a prick.
Like,
don't be a fucking asshole about it.
But like, it's a cool thing that, art and comedy and music get to do is like, you can connect over medium ground, for people who can't express what they are feeling. You can say it through a bit of stand up or
or anime
or hentai. Yeah.
Anime sucks. Nah, that sucks, man. Fuck that. Don't share that with me. You're a loser.
This is super. That is so eye-opening. My daughter is was into anime, and she showed it to some friends, and they all shit on it, and she shut down. She shut down for like a year and a half. Shut down because the shit she liked, they were making fun of. They just thought it was stupid, and she shut down. And that is like, and then she started doing things where she keep it in secret, like she bought wheelies, those shoes that have wheels on them.
Yeah.
And she had me buy them on Amazon, and she was like, "Hey, you can't tell anyone about this." And I was like, "What?"
That sucks.
She's got shit friends, man.
But you know what that is? That's the same soul that we have as artists, is where we go, "Hey, we're making something, and we hope you like it, and if you like it, share it." And that's why we get these Twitter comments, and we're like, "Hey, man, I was just trying to make you happy."
Yeah, legit. It's like, I think as you get older as well, you start to realize that, like, I think when you do alt comedy, you said it about alt comedy versus bro comedy, but even like alt comedy versus bro comedy versus just the really, really, really broad shit, the stuff that really isn't for me, the multi-camera kind of sitcom stuff. I had a friend who, he got me into the weirdest shit, man. Like, there was anime sitcom, like anime comedies. So I quite like anime, just for clarity there. But then, like, he got me into it, like an anime comedy where you had to actually read, like, the DVD came with a little booklet explaining the Japanese references to make the jokes funny. So you had to do a little bit of research before you watched the episode to get the jokes. So like, at lunchtime, they use this sort of spoon, and that's the reference here. And like, he was into the weirdest shit. And then I think he became like an engineer or something, working down the coal mines. And I caught up with him like 5 years after I'd started doing like acting, and I think I was into comedy. And he said to me, he was like, "Man, we used to hate those multi-camera sitcoms. We used to like just dig into them and just be like," and he's like, "But I get it now. I work a massive shift at work. I am using my brain for hours and hours and hours. And I get home and I sit down and I turn on the TV." He's like, "And I don't want to be challenged by my comedy anymore. I just want to be told when to laugh. I just want to relax. I want to like eat my dinner and be told when to laugh, And he's like, "And I get it." And I was just like, and he's like, "I still love all that stuff." He was just like, "But I get it." And I think that's so true. It's like, even if you like the weird stuff, don't hate people for liking the broad stuff. Just fucking chill out, enjoy what you enjoy, and let other people enjoy what they enjoy. And that's a tough journey to go on, because I think we're all assholes. But I think it's so important. It's so important just to like fucking just get over yourself, You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember being super butthurt that like I didn't get in the alt scenes when I first started down in New York. There was a place in New York called Surf Reality and then Collective Unconscious, and we used to go. You could pay like $3 and then you could get up and do like 5 minutes or whatever, or maybe more. Maybe that was probably 5 minutes. And I just didn't fit in that scene, and I liked all the stuff that they were saying. It was stuff I'd never heard. Like I grew up very like frat boy energy, athlete, frat boy kind of guy, and to hear different perspectives. Oh, it's my daughter Isla. Hold on 1 second. This is the one that was into anime. Hold on.
Yeah, go.
Hey, what's up, I?
Why isn't Georgia picking up?
Oh, I don't know, baby. I can't answer that. Let me
Ask her about drum.
Let me call you. Let me call you back, okay?
Okay, bye.
Never mind. That was a big fucking mistake. My daughter was fighting right. That was a big fucking mistake. Oh,
You can
Was
cut
there
that.
sirens in the background there? Was she out?
Is she okay?
oh God. What was that, guys? Should have never answered that. Let me check Life 360 and see where my daughters are. Hold on.
What's
No
Live
worries.
360?
Life 360 is this fucking kid, man.
Do they listen to this podcast?
Yeah. Oh, they should. They're fucking drive me nuts. My
How old
daughter.
are they now?
I don't know. The fucking Isla, it makes me crazy. We're going through. Teenagers suck. Do you guys have kids?
No, not
no,
yet.
that's
Not
not
yet.
good.
I know that I'm gonna. I was talking about it this week. What'd you say?
This went good.
Good, yeah. I was talking about this with my partner the other day, and I was like, fucking hell. I was like, how is either of us going to handle either of us as teenagers? Because that's what they're going to be. They're going to be some variation of the two of us. And it's like, that's not going to be fun. That's not going to be a fun 10 years.
Oh my God. It's my daughter, Isla, can be such a bitch for no reason at all. Like just this morning, she just was in a nasty mood, and I was trying to make her laugh. She was being an asshole, and then she didn't bring the charger for her computer. And then they go because it's kind of hard to explain. We have another house that is being built, but there's a space where they're doing school over there, so they get out of the house. And then she just calls and she's like, "I need my charger. Can you go to my room and find it?" And I was like, "Hey, I'm a fucking grown up. Like, you don't just tell me to." I got so fucking. And then I went over and I was like, "All I'm asking for is a kiss on the cheek as a thank you." She goes, "Nah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it." And then she turns into this goddamn feminist that my wife created, where she's like, "That's patriarchy. Don't make me kiss you on the cheek. You want to meet me halfway?" I go, "Hold on. I fucking went and found your goddamn charger. I'm your dad." And then I'm not allowed to say, "Because I said so." Oh, fuck. It's a nightmare, man. It's a nightmare.
At the end. So she a teenager, is that right?
12 and 14. No, 14 and 16.
I was such a prick
Yeah,
then. I was a bad man.
Oh,
Yeah, it's an
I was a
arsehole.
bad mother.
Yeah, it's
when did you guys
That's
start?
fucked.
The first time you guys smoked pot?
What's that?
How old were you the first time you smoked pot?
I was 15
I was
and
17.
I fucking ripped a bong and I got so fucked up. It was really bad.
I never really I had to move to California to have gummies because they're fucking everywhere, and you're more likely to eat a weed gummy than a normal gummy in California.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But yeah, I was in bands when I was a kid, and like all my bandmates' older brothers were just like heavy into weed and drugs, and there was a pretty big like drug problem kind of where I grew up. It was just like a lot of it, and yeah, I just remember. I look back on it now as a little 15-year-old Mark fucking just punching a bowl like. Why the fuck did I do that? Just like greened the fuck out, man. That was crazy. That was crazy times.
What's crazy about teenagers is like, when I think back to when I'm 15, like to that, I like, you think you're so mature and you think you're so grown up, but
Yeah.
you're still a kid then, man. You're still so young.
A little
and that's
baby.
the reason why adults are such assholes to you, because they're like, you're still a kid. I was there. You're still a kid, but you don't think you are. And it's a shit time.
Oh, some of my daughter's friends, the boys, were eating edibles at a party and they overdosed themselves. And
Jesus.
my daughter was like, "How can that happen?" And I go, "Because they're fucking children and they're idiots. You're stupid when you're a child." and no one knows what 10 milligrams is versus 100 milligrams. 100 milligrams is going to put you in the ground. And I was like, I'm an adult, so I did the research to find out what the threshold is, and it's 2.5 milligrams. That's the threshold. That's when, what's that mean? I go, when you start feeling it is at 2.5 milligrams. So maybe 5 milligrams is a fair amount for a child. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like what, like as opposed to 100, these kids, man, I start wondering, I almost moved to Australia. You know that?
Why?
Really?
Where?
Sydney. My buddy was doing a movie and he was going to relocate to Australia. And my wife and daughters said, let's take a year and go down there and live in Australia. And I was like, fuck yeah. I was like, I'll ride an hour down there. I'll just go and tour, just do clubs and tour. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then at the last minute, my buddy ended up doing Star Wars. So he's here, yeah.
Who was your buddy?
Yeah.
He's a movie producer. So he
right.
He does only like really, really big movies. So I forget the movie they were doing in Australia. I wish I could remember.
It was probably the prequels.
Something like that.
Tell us what year it was, and we'll figure it out.
It was whenever I was last in Australia.
Could have been early noughties, I imagine.
It would be shooting. It would be shooting right around now. Like it would be shooting right now.
Oh, wow.
Everything's being shut down here now because there's so little COVID.
Tell me, how did you guys beat COVID?
Well,
we're an island. We're an island. See, we love to be arrogant about this, right? We love to be like, and we did some good stuff. I would say there's two reasons, and correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. One is we're an island. So it got to us last, it got to Australia last. So, it happened in China and we were talking about that in Wuhan, happened in northern Italy, Iran. We were talking about that. It started to break out in America before it was a problem. Like we had that entire time to talk about it, and we were able to kind of start to see, okay, those places didn't shut down and it got bad. Like we were able to see what happened in New York and Iran and northern Italy. So we were able to I think it was easier for politicians to be like, no, we do have to shut down. So there was that. It was the timing. And also Australians are a little bit more okay with being told what to do. We hate it. We're like teenagers. We hate it. We'll complain, but we'll do it.
We'll do it. Yeah.
They put on a helmet. We're like, fuck you. I don't want to put on a helmet. I'm putting on the helmet, but fuck you. Yeah. And I think that kind of happened. But people were like, stay home, and we're like, fuck you, but we stayed home.
Yeah. There's also there's less of us, right? Yeah. So there's like nowhere near as many people. But in Melbourne, we had like this big second wave where at points we were getting like 700-800 cases a day, which is big, for our population and stuff in Victoria. And we just went into heavy quarantine, and we had like these stage 4 lockdowns that lasted like 140 days or something, where you could only leave the house once to go shopping. Only one person per household could go. You couldn't have anyone over your house. You could only exercise for an hour outside every day. There was an 8 p.m. curfew. Wow. And we did that for about 140 days. And we just kept doing that until the cases eventually got to zero. And now we're just on a rolling zero every day.
The only other thing I'd add is like the government as a whole paid everyone a wage who wasn't working. So they paid everyone $1,500 a fortnight to live, pretty much.
Well, 20 nights? Is that a fortnight?
Yeah. 14, 2 weeks, every 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
Oh, for real? A fortnight's 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I forget that's not a international term.
Yeah, 2 weeks. So they just were like, for as long as this goes for, they upped like social security, they upped like unemployment benefits, and then they basically paid companies whatever amount to keep paying their employees during the period. So companies kind of kept chugging away, and locked everyone down. States and like national, at least at the start, worked well together, better than they had in the. It was just one of those things that it kind of came together, but. I would say the wage was a really big thing. People
massively. And there's still people who got fucked, and there's still some people that couldn't get on, and we're by no means perfect. Like it wasn't the most perfect execution of it, but yeah, we did. We got there.
So then, where are you guys? Are you guys still locked down right now?
No, as of
No.
today, we're kind of what's the rules? Like it's as of today, there's no COVID in our state at all, and the only COVID in Australia is people coming home where they have to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks before they can. But like you have to wear a mask inside, shopping centers and things like that. But apart from that, we're all good. We're all good.
Yeah, it was only about 2 weeks ago we started opening up, and you could go back out to restaurants and bars are opening. Gyms just started opening again. But yeah, things are starting to get to, as our premier likes to call, COVID normal, is where we're.
So then, when will you guys go out on tour at all?
Well, we'd have to make an hour.
We need to make an hour.
Well, yeah, I guess you just did that. You kind of put all your eggs. You spend your time making your show.
Yeah, everything.
Everyone's like, "Oh, you're going to do a season 2?" It's like, we have nothing. Please God, give us one, but we have nothing.
I think the chances of us touring Australia next year are pretty high. When we're not sure. We're also very lucky. We're very blessed, very lucky that because we've been cultivating enough of a fan base where we don't have to fully rely on festivals anymore to be able to tour and fill up venues. Like we usually do festivals because they're good for us and they're a lot of fun. You can do longer runs and stuff, but we don't have to do that. So when we write our hour and when we go on tour is a little bit up to us, and we can sort of wait to see, when things going at capacity. But there are comedy groups now who are like announcing arena tour shows like for next year in Australia.
Really?
Guns N' Roses just announced an Australian tour next year.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, everyone's going to be fucking coming here because it's one of the only places they can probably fucking come and pack people in.
American comics will be fighting for Australia.
Yeah. Come over. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely, more than everyone loves it. Yeah, if you came down here, you would be, I think, fine, Bert. I think you do very well.
Embraced, I would argue.
Man, I love performing in Australia. It's so funny for me, and this sounds silly, but the average guy that comes to my show in Australia is absolutely no different than the average guy that comes in Omaha or Texas or New York City there's such a similar man and their wives all look the fucking same. Like they're identical human beings, and it's such
a plaid shirt and a beer, like a beer in one hand, a plaid shirt.
Nice hair.
You're always like, "How did you get that fucking chick?" He's like, "I put on weight. Don't worry."
That's great.
Yeah,
that's so good.
Well, guys, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. I didn't expect it to go this long. I thought we'd do an hour, but you guys, I could talk to you guys forever. When are you guys? So I want to fucking hang out with you guys. Do you guys drink, or are you guys all in recovery?
We're all in recovery. We're all
heavily recovering. None of us are crazy drinkers.
Mark and I like cocktails now. We always get, whenever we're out like with a promoter or anyone, we always order big fancy cocktails. That's how.
Give me a whiskey sour, give me a cosmopolitan, give me something fruity and something that's where I've gotten to. I've gotten to the point now where I don't care. Judge me as much as you want. I'm going to drink something that's delicious. That's where I've gotten to with my life.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I have no fears of my masculinity being poked at based on my drink order anymore.
Let's see where we're at. Well, like hopefully we want to get back into the US and stuff, but also we'll just see where we're at. But we should absolutely hang out sometime.
Oh, it'd be so great. I'd love to do that.
I would. I'm telling you, man. I'm gonna push hard to get into Australia. I was.
We let in Tom Hanks. He just did some hotel quarantine. He's in.
Yeah. and we have to say, this really is on behalf of all of us. Like, thank you so much for having us on. If the show gets popular or like breaks out and tends to be a thing, it's because of people like you giving us a fucking chance, man. So like, from the bottom of our hearts, genuinely, thank you for like just, I know we haven't met before and that's the first experience you've had of us. And, so for you to just call us up and let us on the show is huge. Thank you.
Oh, no, I absolutely love it, man. I really enjoyed it. And I think the cool thing about having a podcast is when people hit you up, and I can't remember who hit me up, but they were like,
it was Michael O'Brien, our producer.
Yeah, it would have been Michael.
Our publicist, sorry. I wrote back to him, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
And I said, I was like, oh, let me check it out. And as soon as I watched it, I was like, fuck yes. I was like, dude, this is the stuff that when I first started comedy, I didn't understand what comedy was. I didn't understand how you'd write a joke or why things made you laugh. I was just turned 21, and I watched The State, and which I still find like the same sensibility, the same kind of absurdity, the same kind of almost like energy. And I remember watching that and then going to my English class and writing a sketch. I wrote a sketch and I laughed to myself. I never made myself laugh before. And I remember giggling and I go, oh my God, am I crazy? Like, does this sound crazy? Like I'm laughing, but no one said something. I'm just laughing. And then I was like, dude, I want more of this shit. And and I still stand by that sketch.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Of course, we'll give you a big shout out. Hey, where can everyone find you online? I know you got like 300,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel, and your YouTube channel is fucking awesome. It's a bunch of sketches from the past. The new show, Aunty Donna, is streaming on Netflix right now. Where should everyone go to find you?
I reckon YouTube's the place to go. Like
Definitely.
That's a good starting point. I'd say YouTube, and then we're on everything else. I reckon if you search Aunty Donna and then like the platform, you'll find it. But YouTube is a really good starting point, and Netflix actually we built it to be an introduction. So those two places.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
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 Congratulations. It's a fantastic series. I hope to see a season 2. I hope to get to party with you in Australia. And I'm telling you,
Bert.
this is my favorite shirtless podcast I've ever done.
Oh, great.
Thank you so much,
Bert.
mate.
And thanks,
Thank
Halston.
you so much, man. Thank you.
Much love, guys. Stay safe, okay?
You too. Bye.
All right, bye.